Hello and welcome to the channel. Hello, welcome to the channel. My name is Michelle. Today I am in a beautiful soul called Heather Feathers. She will arrive any second now. She will be sharing her story regarding suicide and how it has affected her and her life. And yeah, she should be here any minute. So this story is going to be inspirational, motivational, inspiring. Here she is. She's coming in. So hopefully you should be able to see her any second. We're having a technical, yay! It's working! Woohoo! I just need your sound on, Heather. I'm having one. There we go. Hey. I can hear you. Perfect.
Good girl.
All right. So I was just saying how, we can't wait to hear your story. We're going to share your story because it's super inspiring, as you are. And we've had technical issues, but we don't care because it's all part of the learning process, which is why we are here on Earth, to learn and to grow.
Yeah, we carry on regardless.
We do. We don't give up.
We don't.
We don't. So, and you're rocking your beautiful hair today. Looks gorgeous.
Thank you.
So let's get right into it. So today we want to get down and dirty. Not dirty. We're going to get to the nitty gritty, but we wanted to share the main stories around suicide because obviously we've got that in common. Like I've survived suicide, and so have you. So have you. But it doesn't kill you. It makes you stronger. And if we are here, we're here for a reason. So yeah. Do you want to start with like why?
I started the feeling of my, those kind of feelings because that's what we want to discuss today is suicidal thoughts and how they come about and what are the causes. And for me, it started at a very young age. I had a very traumatic childhood. But not only did I have a traumatic childhood, my mother was also highly traumatized and she was suicidal herself. So I learned at a very young age that it was an option. But on a soul level, it was never an option. But I'd say about 8 years old. By the time I was 8 years old, I was already thinking of ways that I could end my life. It wasn't that I stayed in that mood, that vibration all the time, but in the home, and knowing that it was a possibility, I did think about it a lot.
Do you think that would have been your mother's kind of influence in a way that you saw it as an example, or you saw that this is how?
Yeah, and it was perfectly normal to me. It was, abuse, domestic violence, trauma. It was, I didn't know any different. I didn't have stability. We had a nice home, but emotional stability was not present. My father had come from a very traumatic background. His mum was a sex worker. My grandma, she had her husband, who I never met, my great grandfather had died in the war, and my dad was in utero when he was killed, and so there was no social security or anything like that. So she did that to survive for her and her children. And so my dad had a really rough upbringing, and so there was trauma there already. And with my mum, she was a war baby, and my granddad had gone off to war. She never saw him till she was 5. my nanny was working in ammunitions, and so they, but this is, my story is a societal thing. My mum and dad, I mean, although they had a rough time, it was like, who didn't in those days? Who didn't have, around war and that sort of thing? So there was trauma there. And my mum was, my dad was, had, he was hardcore. He was SAS, and he was also trying to cope from his emotional childhood wounding with alcohol. And so it was very, very, very wrong. But that's, that's the life lessons. That was, what my dad signed up for, what my mum signed up for, and clearly what I signed up for. And it was to go through that and to be able to be here at this time to transmute all of that dark density. But it was a really, really rocky road, because none of us
you were there
knew.
to break the family cycle, like your mission.
Well,
Do you believe part of your
I
mission was to break the cycle? And I don't know.
ancestral healing. I do, for, the 7 generations forward and the 7 generations back. And I also do help other people implement their ancestral healing, because not everybody signed up to do that, but some of us are, and some of us need support, because it's a lot more to take on board. But as regards, so I lived with terrible anxiety, terrible depression. I was on drugs from being 8 years old for, tranquilizers. So I knew that it was an option. I knew that I just didn't want to be at home, really, predominantly. But I carried on, and
do you mind if I just ask, Heather? I just wanted to ask something. Do you know when you said about tranquilizers and things like that, like drugs and stuff, was that something that you had to seek out, or was that something that your family would, your mum would
I mean,
give to you?
I don't know how soon I was on
Yeah.
drugs.
Yeah,
but
it's a very young age, isn't it?
I know by the age of 8, but there's a lot more to my story that we don't.
Yeah, you're just trying to. Yeah, we're shortening it. We're doing a shorter version tonight, aren't we? At the moment.
But we are, sort of giving a bit of background.
Yeah.
Saying that's, that's where it stemmed for me.
Yeah,
that's,
how it all started.
That's where that. I mean, and then as we go in. And then other influences, when you get into societal, influences, and within the school, and not feeling good enough, and not feeling, I mean, I certainly never fit in. I never ever fit in a million years. Nobody in my wildest dreams has ever accused me of being normal. So I
do want that.
I knew that was not something I was going to be able to fulfill. But possibly taking myself out was an option, until it clearly wasn't an option. But I did, I self-harmed, and I had anorexia, and I did, I killed myself in lots of other ways, until I think it was just something that was ruminating around. It wasn't, once I got out of home, once I could, sort of try and forge a life for myself and be myself and have fun, because it does sound strange that although I suffered these really, really dark feelings that were, terrible to me, I also had the bounce back. Take me out of the situation. I was so funny. I was so lively. I knew how to cover, and I knew how to to cover socially. I
Mm.
could make myself look pretty.
So it was your environment, that's it all stemmed from you being in that environment. Do you think if you were obviously in a different environment from the day you were born,
Yeah,
and you wouldn't have been like this? Do you think it's just part of?
yeah, it was part of my
Yeah,
journey. It was part of my journey,
yeah,
and obviously once you've gone into that and gone into those feelings, then you've taken that energy on board.
mm,
You then carry it yourself. I mean, that's part of what we do. We don't realize that we're doing that. We're absorbing other people's pain and energy, and owning it as if it's ours. You know, that was my mum's journey. You know, my dad he wasn't there an awful lot, thank
mm,
goodness, because he was away, you know, all around the world, skiing in Antarctica and, you know, Bosnia, and so he wasn't round an awful lot,
yeah,
thank goodness. But when he was there, it was a lot of disruption. So I left home and I had I forged a little life up for myself.
mm,
I got married very young because I thought that's what we were supposed to do. I got married as a teenager, and I had my first baby at 20. And although we won't go into that story because that's another
mm,
story, grief story.
mm,
My first baby died cot death,
mm,
and Ben died cot death, and that I wasn't depressed initially. I was just in really bad shock.
mm.
And, you know, I know you've navigated grief as well. It's a bit like being hit with a baseball bat.
10
You
times.
know, I was in Al Bizarro land, first of
Mm,
all. You know, it is that kind of shock when you've had that.
mm,
So I didn't feel depressed, first of all, but there was a baby in the flat below me that was more or less the same age. So every time the baby cried, I thought, I can't sleep. I went to the doctors and I got antidepressants. And that was the first time that I really thought of actually doing it.
mm,
Was, you know, obviously my circumstances,
mm.
but then I didn't know at the time how negative antidepressants could be.
Yeah.
And that made me feel suicidal. And I did take some tablets, but not enough to do anything. I was still sort of, I wanted to go, but I didn't want to go. You know, I
Mm.
wanted to go, but I wanted,
You didn't
yeah.
want to die, you just didn't want to feel what you were feeling, right?
But I think that is the point in general, is that
Mm,
I have, through my work, you know, as, you know, in my young life, I was a counsellor for women in domestic violence, around support groups. And so I was always around other people that were traumatized, that wanted, you know, that had suicidal thoughts. And most of my friends, because like attracts like. So all my friends were the most traumatized people, because yeah, because that
yeah.
was obviously journey. That's what we signed ourselves up for. And I did. The only time that I got close was, you know, through, I was so ill, and that was a couple of decades later
Mm,
that I actually. But even then, that wasn't. It wasn't like some of my friends. I mean, one of my friends. I mean, we laugh. I mean, because I am a humorous person, and you know, my friends, we've all been traumatized, so we have navigated a lot of it through humor. And one of my friends, I mean, she, you know, when she got her stomach pumped, you know, and she managed it and she survived, because I've heard you say it's like, if you're meant to survive, you'll survive. And the only reason that she did survive is that she was told, you took too many. You know, if you hadn't have taken as many
God.
tablets, you wouldn't have vomited for so long.
Right.
It
This
wouldn't
would
be
have
here.
worked.
But I have also, I don't know if that's a topic of conversation to go today, but one of my friends did take their life,
Yeah.
and successfully take their life,
Yeah.
and have always been in contact with me since then. You know,
See,
when I went to
I've got this belief. I don't know if you share this belief that if we're meant to be here, we're meant to be here, and it doesn't matter what we do. We can take as many pills as we like. We can try our hardest, but it's like we all have like a time. This is my belief: is we have a time to be in this particular body. Because obviously, I think we've lived before, and we. Oh, is
well,
that you ringing?
I absolutely agree with that 100%. But in the entirety of, do we not have a choice to take our lives?
Mm.
No, I would disagree with that, because Martin did take his life.
Is that ringing
And
coming from you or me, Heather? I can hear this ringing in my ears.
it must be you.
Okay,
It
it
must be
stopped.
you.
Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, no, Martin, he did successfully take his life.
Mm.
And because he's always visited, and when I went to the funeral, I could see him stood with a guardian angel at the bottom, and it was absolutely rammed full. He was
Mm-hmm.
so popular, so loved. But I did know that he would have to repeat his life
Yeah.
lessons, because there's no such thing as death.
No,
Absolutely no such thing
I
as
think
death.
that's kind of where I was going with it as well. It's like, yeah, we, you know, if we've got a mission to fulfill and if there's lessons we need to learn, we will keep going until we finish. Like, you can't not learn the lesson. If you're meant to learn a lesson, you're meant to learn it, and it will keep showing up in your life in all different ways. Some people, it's like attracting the same
Yeah,
partner over and over and over and over, things like that. And that's what I was sort of getting at, like with regards to, you can't escape by trying to take your own life. Like, you will still
yeah.
come back in another way, in another lifetime, in another body, whatever. So it's like, just, yeah, if you can persevere or somehow, like,
I
yeah.
do, I do agree with you in the fact
Mm,
that, I do think that there's an element of choice. But
mm,
when you are a high level soul that is supposed to be a transmuter at this
yeah.
time, and we signed up to be in the upswing at this time,
Mm,
because one of my ex-partners, his daughter jumped a bridge,
mm,
um, and there's no way that she should have been alive. She did break both her legs. She
yeah.
was very, very, very damaged. And she's here today with a baby, and she's, because that was a good few years ago. But
Mm,
it's like, no, if we're meant to survive,
we will.
you know, be here at this time, but then I think for some souls, they can if they want to, but they will, there's no such thing as death, and they just will have to repeat their lessons.
Mm-hmm.
And as a shaman, that part of my work, part of my esoteric work that I do, is I go into other dimensions and go and help the lost souls, especially the cleanup at the moment. As we're ascending, I've been doing a lot of that, a lot of that work, especially
Mm.
underground. So it's like there's no soul is ever left behind, but who wants to repeat
Yeah.
when it is really it's a
Yeah.
lesson. It's like no matter no matter who you are a part of all that is,
Mm-hmm.
all that was, is, and ever shall be. There are no mistakes in your creation of who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And from that standpoint, it's like you're meant to be here. There, nothing is whole without you. Everybody is no less, and it is a life lesson journey to be navigated and to come through it's a feeling, it's a rumination, it's a forgetting who you really are, who your importance, your perfection of
It's
who
a
you
miracle
are.
that we even exist, right? It's a miracle that we even exist. And I think as well, like we've all lived all these different lifetimes. Like we've lived maybe 50 lifetimes already. We've got more to go. We're always evolving. And I think eventually we ascend and never come back to being in a body, but we just stay as a spirit. But, you know, I think we've all been black, we've all been white, maybe we've all been male, female, you know, different cultures, different financial status, rich,
I've
poor.
remembered so many past lives,
Okay.
so I know, yeah, I absolutely know that to be true. But for the people
Yeah.
that haven't quite got to that point yet, it's like they are still just as valuable. And you know, energy can never be created and never destroyed, which proves that we are eternal, because we are, our energy lives within this body. We are not this body.
Yeah.
You only have
It's a
to
meat
have had
suit. That's what I call it. It's a meat suit.
a near death experience. You know, you don't have to have psychic abilities to have had a near death experience, or even to have a transcendental experience where you realize that you're just the awareness of your thoughts, of your being. I think it's very powerful to remind yourself that you're not even your thoughts, you're not your experiences, you are the awareness behind it, and you have lived through every painful experience, and you're so resilient. You're still here today. If you're watching this, you're listening to this, you've done it already. You just need to wake up to
Who you
your
are, who you truly
soul
are.
self.
Yeah.
I found that I really found that it really enhanced this becoming more and knowing more from doing mirror work.
Yeah.
When you look, because you can really get a sense of how much self-rejection have I got. If you can't look in the mirror and look in your eyes in the mirror, you'll know that there's part of you rejecting you, and it's just those aspects that are wanting to be loved. Nobody is suicidal unless they've lost their sense of worth, or if they're in grief. Grief can be really hard, but it's still
Yeah.
some people, I know some, well, I'm mentioning that because I know some people that haven't suffered with suicidal ideation, but when they've had a massive grief of a child or a parent or a partner, something that might have been the first time that they felt, I don't think I want to go on.
Yeah. See, for me, when it happened for me, I never I never thought about doing it ever. I'd never considered suicide. I never wanted to do anything like that. But then I had a lot of build up to something that then, again, no thoughts about doing it, but then it all happened really quick in a matter of weeks, and then I did it. It's like a switch, but it was not a whole build up. There was no thoughts of it. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah,
yeah.
it's like spiraling down.
Like a lot of the way I was feeling, you know, with the build up of my situation in my life, like not feeling secure, feeling like I couldn't speak, I didn't know what to do, I couldn't sleep, I couldn't eat. There was just a lot at the time, and I felt like it was like a big amount, like it was just a lot of intense feeling in a short space of time. But there was a lead up as well. But yeah, but I wouldn't say I've ever in my whole life felt like I wanted to do anything like that. It was more, and even when I did it, I didn't want to do it. It was more a case of I cannot feel like this anymore. I can't take the way I'm feeling, and I just want out. You know, it was like that. But the minute I did it, I regretted it. The minute I did it, I regretted it.
It was different for me.
Mm.
It was, well, clearly,
Yeah, I think we've totally
different for me. You know, sometimes it could be a fantasy for me. It would be a fact, which is why it was a coping strategy for me, because I knew that I wouldn't. The likelihood of me doing it was not strong, but not impossible, because I tried. But it was because I had children, I had loved ones. I am made of love. I've always been very loving. When I had suicidal thought, I never wanted to hurt anybody else. I sometimes would fantasize about how everybody would suddenly realize, my pain, and why didn't they do something to help me. I did have those victimhood, feelings. But I didn't want to leave my kids. I didn't want to hurt my kids. The only time that I seriously thought about it was when I had my self-worth had gone down, that I had convinced myself that clearly they would be better off without me. I always said that I would never be like my mum, who was on the brink all the time, and I said I would never be like that, and there I was, exactly like that. So yes, I.
But again, we're here to learn, aren't we? It's all about the learning of it, and you've not been through what you've been through by mistake. You were meant to go through it and grow through it because of who you've become today, and the reason why you're on Facebook dancing and singing and sharing your love and sharing your gifts now with the world. And you would never perhaps be doing that if you hadn't have experienced such challenges, and that's what I wanted to share about today.
Also
that
because I've done the healing work. I wouldn't be talking like this if I hadn't have healed.
You've got to do the work.
But I want, I then did pass that programming on to my children. My 3 daughters, not my son, but my 3 daughters have all had attempts.
Right.
Not serious attempts, but they have. But some people, and it certainly was for me, is I think I was a bit frightened of truly embracing life. And when we realise our worth, then we want life, we want joy. We realise that it was just a program. It was just something to be dissolved. We just forgot who we were. We forgot that we are worthy of love, and we forgot that we can restore this.
All about unlearning what we've been taught by our parents or what have you, isn't it? And it's about relearning and teaching ourselves every single day of who we are and why we're really here, and learning about what really, really matters. So well, I think
saying beautiful things to yourself too, saying beautiful things, saying what you needed to hear as a child, whatever caused the problem in the first place, is what needs to be attended to. And so that's what we do with the healing work, is we talk to ourselves as the child that was wounded.
And on that note, let's just, because this is only a short one tonight, but or today, this morning for me, but can we wrap this up by you explaining a little bit maybe about what you do now to help others, and if people want to reach out to you for help and that kind of thing?
Well, I think that I found it a really game changer once I became a compassion key practitioner. Because I understood the level of healing that we can do when we come at all our problems, but when we come at it with neutrality. Most ways that we go through life, we're either whitewashing or we are adding weight to it. And it is about connecting with you as a memory comes up, as a feeling comes up, especially despair, as that comes up, to meet that energy with compassion. Once you come at it and you give yourself that, you say those things, I'm so sorry. You have a memory of something that made you spiral down. You say, you know, I'm so sorry for that experience, and we can move forward. But if those bits aren't seen and heard from, at least from us, then that is the most powerful healing, the most powerful healing tool that I found. There's multiples, but so many tools, but that for me was revolutionary.
And but are you offering like services now as just to help people, you know, like with clients or?
I'm doing my spiritual life path readings, and I am doing my compassion key sessions.
And if people want to reach out to you for support, like
they want to reach out to me, then just private message me on Facebook.
Yeah.
Say what you know, what it is that you're looking for, and I will say, you know, what I do, and I will give a more personal, you know, sort of. If somebody's asking me, then I'll have a conversation, see if it's a good fit. I'll say exactly what's involved with the session and what I feel is possible for them.
Perfect.
And make it personal. Okay.
Perfect. Well, thank you for sharing a snippet, a smidging of your story with us. I'm sure it will help a lot of people, and the right people are going to see it. The right people will find the video. It always happens. It's like with my YouTube channel and the readings, the people that are meant to find it always find it. So
that's how I found you in the first place. If you remember, it was just pure, you know, you're in Australia, I'm in England, and I came across you just on Facebook, and that's how we're connected. So
it's meant to be, it'll be. It'll always find us what needs to find us.
That's it. The right people will see this, that resonate with it, and
exactly,
and it'll help. Hopefully it'll help.
Yeah.
Okay, my
lovely. Well, this is the first of many interviews. There's just to touch on basically why I'm doing this. I want to add this to my YouTube channel, and I want to like get the word out that what we go through helps us to grow and become who we're meant to be, and it's part of, we're supposed to have gone through that. It's not like, you know, it happens by like for no reason. It happens for us, not to us. Yeah. And
by design.
But when we're going through it doesn't feel like that. Obviously it doesn't feel like that when we're going through it. It feels like hell. But you the amount of strength you gain from going through these kind of challenges is like astronomical. And I think we're here for, like you say, so much, to share joy, to experience unconditional love, to freaking grow, to learn, to evolve, and to eventually ascend. And we're doing it. So let's keep shining our lights. Shine a light. Keep dancing. I want to see more of your live videos of you dancing and singing, and you coming out, you know, more of you. And that's why I asked, what do you do? How can you serve? Because you know, like,
I think, I think if I said exactly what I do, I'd probably
you'd be here all day. Yeah, I meant like, how can people reach out to you so you can spread more of your life? And
me,
and
I can have a conversation, and
I'll drop a link. I'll drop a link to reach out to you in the comments on the video as well. So yeah, but thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing. And if anybody, if this has helped anybody, like obviously it will do. If it's resonated, please drop your comments in the comments.
If one person has gained anything out of it, it's been time well spent.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. All right, my dear. Well,
anyway,
hey,
sending love to everybody. I said it's been lovely talking to you anyway, because it always is. But I am sending love out to everybody because they need to know they're worth it.
Yeah,
they're worth love.
Definitely. All right, my dear. Take care. Keep shining. Thank you so much. Bye.